This question tells us that Haley must choose between gamble A and gamble B, and also between gamble C and gamble D. It says which of the following preferences is consistent with the expected utility model, and it goes on to give us some different answer choices, but before we look at those, let's take a look at the expected wealth of each gamble. Now we don't have to do that to answer this question, but it is going to help us organize our thoughts. So expected wealth of gamble A is $1,450, the expected wealth of gamble B we find to be $1,200, the expected wealth of gamble C we find to be $600, and the expected wealth of gamble D we find to be $850. So now that we found those expected wealths, let's take a look at our answer choices. Answer choice A says that we prefer gamble B over gamble A, and that we prefer gamble C to gamble D. Well, this is the right answer. Before we talk about why, let's talk about why the other answer choices aren't consistent with the expected utility model. Answer choice B says we prefer gamble A to B, and we prefer gamble C to D. So let's take a look at gamble A. Gamble A, we have a 15% chance of getting 0, a 70% chance of getting 1,000, and a 15% chance of getting 5,000. Comparing that to gamble B, that has a 0% chance of getting 0, 95% chance of getting 1,000, and a 5% chance of getting 5,000, we notice that gamble A has the higher probability on each extreme outcome. So the extreme outcomes here are $0 and $5,000, and in both cases, gamble A's probability is higher. So gamble A is the riskier gamble. Let's take a look at gamble C compared to gamble D. Gamble C and gamble D are similar to gamble A and B. Gamble C is similar to gamble B because it has the lower chance of each extreme outcome. Gamble D is very similar to gamble A because it has the higher chance of each extreme outcome. So gamble D is riskier than gamble C. Even though we see that gamble A and D have the highest expected payoffs relative to the other gamble that we're comparing it to, they're the riskier gambles. So option choice B that says that we prefer A to B, so we prefer a riskier gamble to a not so risky gamble, and then we prefer C to D, so we prefer a not so risky gamble to a riskier gamble, this can't be right. This is inconsistent with the expected utility model. So we can get rid of that answer choice. Option choice C says we're indifferent between A and B, but we prefer C to D. This is saying we're indifferent between a riskier gamble and a not so risky gamble, but we prefer a not so risky gamble to a risky gamble. That's just not consistent with the expected utility model either, so we can get rid of that. Option choice D, for the same reasons, is not consistent. Let's take a look at option choice A. It says we do prefer B to A and we prefer C to D. And this is consistent because B, as we said, is a not so risky gamble, so maybe this represents a very risk-averse person. And this is very consistent because option B is less risky and we prefer that to option A, and option C is less risky and we prefer that to option D. So this answer is right because both of these gambles that we prefer are less risky, and therefore this could very well represent somebody who's very risk-averse.